have our light moments too by chit-chatting about issues that affect our day-to-day life. You stay right here on the Sundown. Join in and be part of the show on iRadio, Your Eye on South Sudan. The Sundown. For the news, views, opinion, debates and discussions. Listen to who is who talking about issues that affect our country and continent. Only on the Sundown, Your Eye on South Sudan.
Hello and welcome to the Sundown Show on iRadio with me, Madrama James. Tonight we are taking a closer look at the pillars that hold any society together: transparency, accountability and the rule of law. In today's world, information is power. The big question are who controls that power and who has access to it. For citizens to play a real role in democracy, for corruption to be exposed and for human rights to be protected, the rights to information is key. This evening, we bring this global principle home to South Sudan, and we will explore how freedom of expression, media rights and access to justice and all connect, and how these drive good governance. Joining me in this conversation is Dengdit Ayok, a journalist and author who has long championed press freedom and public rights. Good to have you this evening. And to begin with, as a journalist and author, what challenges do you and other journalists have so far encountered trying to access official information or cover stories of that public interest? Welcome.
Thank you so much, Brother Madrama James, for having me. Indeed, this program is a great program, and I hope we would go through for the benefit of those who are listening to us right now. In the media fraternity, or as journalists, there are so many challenges facing journalists in South Sudan. If I may give some examples, the right of access to information is to some extent allowed in South Sudan, and sometimes it is not allowed. Why do I say so? Because there is an information that might be considered to be a sensitive one, related to malpractices in government institutions, related to mismanagement in those institutions. Sometimes journalists are not allowed to have access to such kind of information. And the reason is clear. Our officials or those who are in those institutions are afraid to be exposed in the media, and so they resort to the use of blocking journalists to have access to such kind of information. Meanwhile, it is a right for a journalist to have access to information, and information is divided into two by law and by the government. We have classified information and we have unclassified information or confidential one. So it is a right of journalists to have access to classified information, including those that concern things like corruption and others. It's allowed, but we, the journalists, sometimes we are not allowed. We are blocked, our way is blocked, so that we don't have access to such kind of things. And in my opinion, this is a violation to our constitution. The constitution of this country, in Article 24, sub-article 1, 2, and 3, says that every citizen shall have the right to the freedom of expression, receptions, and dissemination of information, publication, and access to the press without prejudice to public order, safety, or moral as prescribed by the law. And then in sub-article 2, it says all levels of government shall guarantee the freedom of the press and other media as shall be regulated by law in a democratic society. All media shall abide by professional ethics of reporting or of journalism. Why do I cite this article of the Constitution? I want to give a basis to the right of having access to the information. I have a number of laws in front of me here. Another one I have in front of me here is Media Authority Act 2013. In Article 6, it talks about the guiding principles. In sub-article 1, it says that the right to freedom of expression, including the public right to pluralistic media, is a fundamental human right protected under Article 24, which I cited before, of the constitutions. And then in sub-article 2, it said the right to freedom of expression is also recognized under Article 19 of the International Convention of Civil and Political Rights and under Article 9 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. So for us as journalists, sometimes we are blocked not to have access to information under so many pretexts. Sometimes they say this information is a sensitive one. Journalists should not be allowed to have such kind access to such kind of information, and this is not right as long as it is within the framework of the law and the Constitution.
All right, Dengit, thank you. Let me cite for you some few examples. For example, we have the issue of bombardment, the issue of UPDF. Mainstream medias, journalists were blocked from covering some of those sensitive information or accessing some of these sensitive information. But at the end of the day, online media pick it up and fabricate some other information and put it at the display of the public. Now, how safe is it for a journalist to report on sensitive issues like the one that I've just mentioned in our country, and how can also journalists do that professionally?
Well, the issue of bombardment in the various places, such as what happened in Nasr and maybe Olang and other areas, this is a classified information. Why do I say so? If you look back to March 2025, the government official spokesman was speaking publicly, telling the public that we, the government, have bombarded certain areas in Upper Nile, and we are doing this, and then he gave reasons. Such kind of information is now something that journalists can have access to by covering it and reporting about it in the media. At the same time, you find that journalists are not allowed to go beyond reporting. Why? Because it would now involve issues of bombarding the civilians, human rights violations, and other things. And you would automatically find yourself like you are condemning what happened. And when you condemn what is happening on the ground, then you are condemning the doer, the person that is doing it, which now can be the national army or the government that is running the state. And here, journalists are not allowed to go beyond that. But they are allowed to only report what happened. But they are not allowed to go into detail to analyze what happened and the effect of that on civilians and other things. This is the sensitivity of the matter. The other issue you talked about, the UPDF, the Ugandan People's Defense Forces. Based on my personal observation, what I have observed is that whenever citizens of this country talk about the presence of UPDF in South Sudan, authorities rush to denying it, that there is no presence of UPDF in the country. Like there was a time the official said that UPDF have no presence in South Sudan. Later on, the official spokesperson of the government went out publicly and he said that yes, the UPDF is present in South Sudan, and then he went on to justify the reason why they are in the country and what are they doing. But we understand the issue of UPDF. Our country, South Sudan, and the other neighboring country, which is the Republic of Uganda, they have agreements, a strategic agreement that they have signed, like a joint security agreement is between the two countries. And this sometimes what brings the UPDF to be in South Sudan. Second to that, there is another sensitive issue also, that the UPDF is involved in the encroachment into the territorial integrity of the Republic of South Sudan. Mostly when citizens of this country talked about this issue, they are not allowed to talk about it because it involved the issue of sovereignty now, and it actually involves other things that our officials may not be happy with when they hear citizens talking about such things. But I believe that the issue of territorial integrity of the Republic of South Sudan is an issue that is open to the citizens, to the journalists, to the public to talk about, because neighboring countries are supposed to respect themselves, not to encroach upon the territories that belongs to the other. Based on the international law, based on the laws of the African Union. This is not allowed. And I think this what annoys our authorities, and that's why sometimes they are not allowing journalists or commentators, political analysts to speak about these issues. This is the reason, in my opinion.
All right.
I was told earlier that we should be saying little in Arabic, that our show should not all be in English.
It's very important indeed. You can still
in simple Arabic. So let me summarize what I said in English in simple Arabic.
قدم طوال.
نحن بنتكلم عن الحرية اللي قاعدين بيقولوا للناس عشان الناس بيحصلوا لمعلومات. أنا أكلم قالي في 2 نوع من معلومات. في معلومات الجينا دي classified الصنفوه، وفي معلومات تاني اللي بيكلموه unclassified، يعني المعلومات السرية اللي ما بيطلعوا للناس اللي بيكون برا or the public للمجتمع. أنا ونسو قالي إنه information classified ده ما بس ما هو كمان للجورناليست عشان هم بيطلع معلومات ده. سبب ورا كلام ده عشان معلومات ده معلومات يعني عنده علاقة بحاجات فساد في مؤسسات بتاع الدولة. سبب تاني كمان معلومات ده عنده علاقة بإدارة الكعب جوا مؤسسات بتاع الدولة. يلا مسؤولين كان جورناليست روح في مؤسسات زي ده ومن طلع معلومات زي ده، المسؤولين بتاع البلد ومن بيحسوا انه حاجة ده عمل فدية لهم، عشان كده هم ما داير حاجات زي ده بيطلعوه. يلا الجورناليست هنا حسب قانون بتاع الدولة قال هم have right، هم عنده حق عشان بيطلع معلومات ل public benefit، للفائدة العامة. لكن بسبب ده الحاجات ده ما بيقدر بيطلعوه. وهنا الحرية بتاعت having access، الحرية بتاع انه زول بيكون عنده حق عشان يوصل لمعلومة، بيكون شنو خطو قدامه حواجز، يعني زول كده ما بقدر بحصل للمعلومات الممكن بيطلعوا برا. concerning الموضوع بتاع الضرب بالطائرات، الكلام ده حصل في ناصر وحصل في مناطق زي أولان ومناطق تانية كويس. جورناليست ما بيسمحوا لأمن عشان أمن بيونسوا عن حاجات ده. سبب ورا كلام ده عشان حاجات ده كان عملوا فوق اناليسيس وراه، وبعدين بيطلع انه ضربوا مواطنين ما عندهم علاقه برفع بتاع سلاح او بجيش، وكلام ده بيكون غلط حسب قانون بتاع البلد. Yala authorities bitaina sometime woman be feel sensitive. Woman be feel like gali haja de galat. Ashan kida maradu man ma behasma le journalist ashan هم بونسوا كثير ورا كلام ده especially analysis أو تحليلات ورا كلام ده هم ما داري يعملوه sometimes.
نعم.
لكن عشان انت بريبورت انه حصل bombardment في كده sometimes they can allow this ومرات هم ما دار public ذاته يسمع كلام زي ده because كلام زي ده كلام صعب because ده ضربوا بطائرات ولما انت بيضربوا بطائرات بكون في شنو؟ بكون في مواطنين هناك. طبعا الناس اللي بيضربوا اللي هو المسؤولين في بلد هم they mean عشان بيضربوا ناس المتمردين كويس. لكن في مناطق تاع متمردين ده اللي فوق مرات بكون في مواطنين اللي ما عنده علاقه بتمرد وحاجات ده دي او العيب. لكن شكله زول رفع سلاح وزول تاني رفع سلاح هم كان جي شاكلوا هم الاثنين هم كده هم الجيش. لكن الغلط بس في نظام بتاع المواطنين. فعشان كده بكون في صعوبة مرات عشان جورناليست بيطلع معلومات زي ده و authorities بيكلم قالي كلام زي ده ممنوع.
نعم. فعلا انت اشتغل كثير في ناحية بتاع ميديا ووري لنا بس مثال قبل كده بكون كان جربوا عشان ياخد معلومة اللي بيقدر يستفيد مجتمع حقنا لكن ناس بيقولوا لا 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 ده ما محل اللي بكون بقدر يلقى شكل معلومة ده زي ده فوق كمان في سنين الفات مثلا.
في سنين الفات كان في واحد سياسي كبير أنا ما داير بذكر اسم بتاعه. كان رول هو عشان بيطلعوا معلومة ده كان الناس اللي موتوا في سنة 1987 ناس ده قتلوهم في منطقة بيسموه ديان أرجوهم جوا قطر. يلا حكومة السودانية عمل compensation عمل تعويض للناس اللي كان قتلوا زمن داك جنوبين. في واحد من السياسيين الجنوبيين الكبار عنده علاقة بالموضوع ده لما ننا رول هو أنا أسأل هو إنه compensation اللي كان حكومة بتاع السودان دفعوا لأرواح بتاع المواطنين ده قروش ده عملوا بو شنو زول ده طلع زعلان شديد وترجوا نينا طوالي قال روحتكم ده ما سؤالتكم جاب أسألوا أنا. وفي التاريخ بتاع حادث ده وكان زول كبير وهو كان انفولد في حاجة ده يعني عشان كده أنا نروح له هو أنا أسأله حاجة ده لكن هو طلع زعلان وحاجة ده انتهى ده قال ما بقدر بونسه فوقه وكان انت استمر ونسه فوقه وبيروح في قانون بفتح لقيت كيس انت بيدخلوا في سجن.
نعم.
ده one example.
دنجي ديالا انت بيلقى شكل حياة زي ده بحصر كيف بسات بجورناليست وكمان مواطنين. انت بيلقى مرحلة كمان معلومة كان مستيق مواطنين درارف ولا مجتمع درارف لكن بوقفوا زول ده بحصر ما زول كيف
بأثر مع جورناليست لأنه ده أو شغل تاع جورناليست عشان يطلع معلومات عشان بلد بقدر بعرف في شنو جاي حصل في بلد. يلا جورناليست كان منعوه زي ده ما بقدر بيقوم بشغل بتاعه بطريقة اللي كويس. Secondly, it will also affect the public because the public want to know, they want to have knowledge on certain issues, and when the journalist is blocked, the journalist would not be able to release the information to them for their consumption. And so they are kept, they would be kept in darkness or they will have lack of knowledge. And knowledge is very important in the time we live in now. They are يعني تأثير بتاع حاجة ده.
نعم. وكمان في مناطق تانين في داخل جنوب السودان تبيلغا موضوع بتاع شبكة ولا انترنت اكسس ولا اونلاين سيرفيلانس ما في محلات ديل وإنت متأكد في شكل محلات زي ده مواطنين ولا مجتمع القاعدين هنا كمان باسر كيف طبعا مونيدو حق عشان كيف يلقى معلومة.
Yeah, in the areas where there is weakness of the network, people are in darkness. And recently, one of my family members went to Arab State, I think last week. And she went deep into the village. And while there in the village, she was cut off. We could not communicate with her and she could not communicate with us. That is in Tweed County of Warab State. And so I learned that maybe she has gone down deep to the village where there is no good network, and as a result, she is now cut off from us. 3 days later, she came back to where there is a good network, and then she called me, and she said the same thing I had expected. So في مناطق زي ده يعني مواطن بكون في دلوما ما بعرف ذاته في شنو حصل في جوبا، في شنو حصل في توريد، في كابويتا، في ملكال، في واو، ما بكون عنده معلومة because هو مقطوع عشان انترنت ما في هناك، شبكة ذاته عشان هو بونه ساعد مع زول في جوبا ولا في أي محل تاني في ساوث السودان ما في. So انت بيجيني في محل ما في knowledge. There are no updates, daily updates that you are supposed to know as a citizen. That is the effect.
And now the big question is, what can journalists and citizens do to demand more transparency from that government institutions?
Yes, what we can do as journalists to demand transparency or more transparency is that we are urging our authorities to be true to what is written in our constitutions, especially Article 24, and to what is written here in Media Authority Act, Article 6, and other related laws in the country. Because all of us are governed by law, whether you are a citizen or a government official, or you are government yourself. We are all governed by law. So our demand number one is that let us follow the law. As the law says that journalists should have right of access to the information, they should allow us, including the information that is considered to be sensitive. I don't understand what is sensitive about corruption. Is it the issue of somebody's name being in the media that he has embezzled such kind of amount of money? The law even criminalizes embezzlement of public money. So the journalists have right to report about such cases in a professional manner, not to use the media as a tool to damage the name of somebody or to defame somebody, but as a matter of fact that this is what has happened and the public has right to know such thing. So let us follow the law. We understand that as journalists, any unclassified information, we don't have right to have access to it, because this is 100% belonging to the government, and it has to be kept away from us. But we demand that any classified information is our right as journalists to know and report it to the public, and call political analysts to analyze it, and then it become an issue of public debate. People make their comment on it. No, this is what we can do to have transparency. But transparency itself is a problem to some people. Some people don't want to be transparent because transparency exposes them, and they want to keep themselves clean, meanwhile committing mistakes. If you want to keep yourself, if you want your name not to be in the media in relation to something negative, then follow the law. Keep yourself away from all kinds of malpractices. This is what we can also put across. Na galinu عشان بكون في شفافية، عشان بكون في وضوح في بلد عنا، كل الناس كله روح ورا قانون، كان انت حكومة ولا كان انت مواطن عادي، الناس كله بيروح ورا قانون، لأنه قانون يا بحكم نحن كلنا، انت كان government ولا انت كان مواطن. ونفس القانون ده يا قالي كله يكون في حرية بتاع access أو حرية بتاع وصول لمعلومات. ده نفس القانون ده يا كلم زي ده. فإذا كان قانون كلم زي ده خلاص نحن بعمله كه نبي طلع معلومات لبابليك، حتى معلومات ده كان ذاته زول سرقوا قروش تاع دولة ولا كان عمل violation تاع human right ولا عمل حاجات تاني، حاجة ده بيطلع في ميديا وناس بونس فوقه، political analysts بيجاب بونس فوقه، ما فوقه مشكلة، لأنه ده classified information. Lakin malumat tanin hajat ndo alaka bi asrar ta dola, amin ta dola, hajat tani da bisemu unclassified information. Da maluma ma bi talawbara.
Naam.
Da hajat bi ta dola.
Naam.
Ze hajat ze na ma birwa fogo. So ana gali, let us follow law عشان يكون في transparency.
Now, then you'll find, for example, in some other individual, there's that culture of secrecy. If, for example, my uncle is indicted in one of maybe corruption scandal, I will be so reluctant even to come openly and say, you know, my uncle did A, B, C, D, or what has this person really done. You will not really condemn it. Now, how can also citizens or families of those who are supposed to be held accountable for embezzling public funds also come out and discourage the habit of, you know, sitting on wrong practices done by their relatives?
That's a very good question. And I think this is a national problem all over South Sudan. For us, the people of South Sudan, when the law is serving your own justice, in other words, when the law is being used to guarantee your justice, you welcome that wholeheartedly. But when law is used to serve justice for others in you, you reject that. And this is a problem. And I think our country should take a step forward. And the step I mean is that people should be educated. There must be civic education that law is law, whether it targets your relative or someone else, it is still law. And we have to follow it. If your uncle is involved in any financial scandal or in any human rights violations or in any heinous acts of murder or any type of crimes, the law will condemn him. And you have no right to intervene, say, no, this is my uncle, you cannot indict him. No. Law is law. There are so many cases that has happened in South Sudan regarding this issue. So we need to educate our people that is law for everyone, regardless of his status or his political position. Yeah.
Ukamanzol bukono mnam luana wari bukono uncle bitai wazol al bihibu fasad baden fi beta na bijari jake fo ukamana neder bukono connection mino te shikil zol zede bamul shinu masalan asan kaman kedo ma haskut fi haja al batal uncle bitom masalan gad bamul.
Law is still law, whether it is connected with your personal interests in your uncle or your auntie or whoever, it is still law and it has to take its course. Mahu ganun. Kanin uncle bitagda huyao bimasil maslahatake. Yala ya inta bikele mgal mabudi fi mahkama kana amulu galat. Kanina bisibu nas galda shan uncle tai, dashan auntie tai, bele dema biro gidam nina birija le wara diamond. So kada ganun akhud majarab taw kan zolda geribak wala ma geribak khali ganun ishtagal. Otherwise bele dema biro gidam ufoda de bikun mustamir bas zida.
No.
Aye.
No. Dear listener, if in case you have just joined us, you're listening to the Sundown Show on Radio with me, Madrama James. Today we are talking about transparency, accountability, and the rule of law, which is oftenly important in a democratic society. Joining me live in the studio is Dengdit Ayok, a journalist and author. Now, after this break, when we come back, we shall be giving you that chance on 0911-022-986-986.
For news and the music, keep it
نعم في زمن بتصل عندك سؤال الخاص ولتعليق لدنجديت يوك في داخل الاستوديو السيلو تلفون وتصل في 09 وايد وايد ولا 22 986 والمكالمة اي راديو.
يو أنا جيمس.
ايوه ويلسون.
ميسا ويليام. أيوة بوا ولا ويا أمم.
نعم.
البداية بشكرك وبشكر لك العزيز دنجديت ومان يعني. لكن تعرف أنا بقول حاجة هو أنا كلامات كله كويس أنا الصحفيين. أنا كان بدي الناس له سؤال يلا التعامل تاع الصحفيين في دولتنا الحبيب دي يمكن بالسودان وزي تعامل الصحفيين في دول الخارج هل بيساوي؟ وكمان لا تعرف إننا بجامع قبل زمن كده زمن الصحفيين كده من نحترم له بجامع قبل سنة ولا سنتين كده الصحفي يبغى بالشروط يبغى لأن ده كان مرة لو كان راجل كان كريس هراس لكن ده مرة كان شلوتوها هم بيكون ايه الليمبو ذات انا ما بيعرف الليمبو انا ما بيعرف لكن بس انا بقول كده الاثنين يعني ما نفهم بساعتين يعني في صاحبي كان شلوتوها هل فهموا كساعتين في دولة كنا دي بيساوي زي دول البرد ولا ما بيساوي يلا الثاني حاجة ثانية طبعا للصحفي أو صحفي له حق عشان يحكي في المعلومة كويس عشان يجيب المعلومة عشان ينتج حاجة ينتج بمعنى يجيبوا زرار كويس للناس يعني الناس بيستفيدوا منه ديتي يعني بيجي في الحارب وكان ماشي هناك من واجب بتاعه يكتب أنا طرفين دول كله كان طرف بتاع الجهة كان شكل يعني ما كان حكومة ولا كان تعادل هي دول الصحفي يملك المعلومة بيكتب بينه وبيكتب بجاه ما كان بقبضوه طبعا بمشي هناك ده من حق وحقوقه لكن عندنا كمان زيارة في المحل حاجة أنا بتطبق هل هو بنجا زيارة ولا ما بنجا أنا ما أفهم حاجة ده في كلام كده تيجي لا تقبل.
شكرا جزيلا أخونا ويليام أين في جوبا ناسما من دبار واي راديو.
أهلا وسهلا من الأخ مدرما جيمس.
زي ما بقولوا
سلام عليك ولضيف أنا المقدرم دين له التحية مد الله وعمره ونتمنى له التقدم والاجتهاد شرع بما فيه الكفاية. عندي سؤال مختصر شديد ونس وجبال ثم على ذكيرة سما فوق ندوب وذكر معلادة أو في أماكن الكيس ما فوق ندوب وأكيد في معلومات هناك مفروض مواطنين بروا تحفين بروا شيلوا معلومات من هناك عشان تعرف ماشي ومعلادة المقطوع ما في ندوب ما في شنو فيه كم مشاكل هناك زي ما في زي ما برمت الشهادات قريب ده في معلومات ما أعرف معلومات توم أو في أجال جام نفسه كيف هناك مواطن ما عنده معلومة أو القيادة أو الرئاسة يعني أو الولاية أو العاصمة ما عنده معلومة مش جمع المعلومات ده وجاء وتبقى طلع معلومات ده جريمة بما إنه ده شيء حاصل في الواقع هناك هو صح عنده حق في جمع معلومات في كل مناطق على الأقل لأنه وحلقة الوصل ما بين المواطن والحكومة. شكرا جزيلا.
شكرا جزيلا زي ما بقولوا برضو وسط تعليق والسؤال برضو 0911 ولا 22 986 it's chance now for you to grab that cell phone and ask your good question to my guest in the studio right here. That's none other than Dengdit Yok. And if you have also that opportunity, you can visit our Facebook page and drop in your comment or question. We'd like also to thank Margaret So Far So Good, who have taken our time to send in comment right here. Shortly I will go through those messages right here. Now for the interest of time, allow me to now invite Dengdit to answer some of your question right here. Hi, radio.
Yes, hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I will come the guest in the studio. My question is just simple. I like the statement he said when the law is used to judge against some people, they reject. When it is used to judge something, for them, they accept. From his experience, has he experienced that both sides, whether the law is used against him and also the law is used against others in his favor? Has he experienced that both? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your name?
Tamba.
Thank you. All right, Dengdit is right here to answer that good question. Allow me now to invite him. Dengdit, welcome. Your response to some of those comments and questions as well.
Well, that is a very good question. Let me start with, did I hear his name correctly? Samba? Okay, the last speaker. His question is concerning whether I have experienced a similar situation where law was used against me or for my own benefit to save justice for me. Well, I don't remember a situation where I was mistaken against the right of others and then the law was used against me and I rejected that. I don't recall anything of such kind. And should I also be condemned for a mistake that I have done, then the law is still law. The law has to take its course. Should the law also be used against one of my relatives, and I am fully convinced that my relative is mistaken and that he has actually violated the law and that the law condemns him or her, I will not interfere with the law. I will let the law take its course. This is frankly speaking, and I'm saying it from the bottom of my heart, because the law is law. Whether you are a normal citizen or a government official, we are all under the law. Nobody is above the law. This is what I can say to our last caller, Mr. Samba. قانون هو قانون يا جماعة. كان زول الحكومة بقانون ده قريبك ولا ما قريبك هو لسه قانون. لأنا الجوانسو أنا ما بذكر situation حكومة أنا فوقه بقانون عشان أنا طالع غلطان في حق بتاع الناس تانين يلا أنا رفضوا كلام ده ما في، ولا في واحد من أهل تاي حكموا مع قانون وهو كان غلطان وأنا عارفه كويس إنه كلامه عمله ده غلط حسب قانون، يلا أنا وقف معه في غلط بتاعه وأنا دافع عنه عشان ده أهل تاي ولا ده عشان قريب تاي. ما حصل حاجة زي ده في حياة بتاعي يعني. فده رد بتاعي لسامبا للناس اللي اسمع انا هناك برا. يا
نعم برضو لزعيم بلولو وكمان ويليام.
زعيم بلولو بيونسوا عن محلات اللي ما فوقوا شبكة ومعلومات، يعني كيف صحفيين بيروحوا هناك وبيقدر بيجيب معلومات. ده أو مشكلة. فأنا داير أكلم لزعيم بلولو إنه الصحفيين الدير وصل لمناطق البعيد اللي ما فوقوا شبكة، دي مهمة بتومن عشان يعني كده. imagine في areas like محلات زي فشلة في greater people administrative area، دي محلات بعيد برا من يعني ما انت ما بأسمع مرات في شنو قاعد حصل هناك، ناس عايشين هناك كيف. محلات زي أوديشي مثلا في واو، although أوديشي there is along the main road between Wow and Awil, but people rarely hear of what is happening in Udishi, for example. There are other areas that are far away. For instance, Loka is a well-known area in South Sudan, and it is a place where there is a school. In that school, our great politicians, great men who made history of this country, went to school there. But today we don't hear something about that secondary school in Loka and what is happening in Loka and how people are living their life there. We don't hear anything. So I believe that it is now the duty of journalists to go to such areas and tell the people or report in the media so that the public know what is actually happening in those areas. So this is a very good question from Zaima Bululu. Journalists go to those areas, those far areas, those areas that people know nothing about. Go into those areas, take your pictures, ask people, record what they are saying, come and broadcast it or print it in the printed media. People will be reading about it and they will be happy to know what is happening in Bibor, to know what is happening in in places like Malual Gauth in Upper Nile. These are areas that we rarely hear in the news today. Why? Because journalists are not going there. So he's sending a clear message that you have to go to those areas and bring news from there. Leave alone those areas. There are places near Juba here like Mundiri. Who is reporting what is happening in Mundiri? For example, cultivation or agriculture in Mundiri. How is it going? Is there any journalist reporting about it? No one. Security in that area is an issue. No one is reporting about it. Places like Amadi, no journalists talking about this. So it is it is a duty of journalists to go to those areas, explore the area, bring the news from there, so that the public know what is happening.
Right.
This one is a message from Zaima Bululu that journalists should not be focusing only on Juba and big cities. They have to go outside and bring news from there.
All right. I think William also talked about the issue of that assault, and he highlighted on
the issue of assault.
Where even he witnessed one of a lady that most of the journalists are not even respected, and he cited a situation where a lady was even kicked.
Yeah, that is a very good question from William. You know, there is a misconception about journalists and who they are and what they do. In some areas, a journalist is seen as a spy, as somebody who come and spy, gather information and send it somewhere. Some people have that concept or that misconception about who is a journalist and what is his role in this country. And because they are perceived to be spies, that's why they are assaulted, abused. Again, we come back to the same point we mentioned earlier, that there is no civic education in South Sudan about who is a journalist and how he or she operates, and what is the importance of journalism in the country, especially in areas, in military areas. Journalists are not respected. But this public awareness or public civic education will come gradually. You remember some years back, 2008, 2009, 2011, those who are practicing lawyers, they were not understood who they were and what they do. And so they were abused like journalists. They were kicked out from courtrooms. They were considered as people who are doing or playing negative role in the society. But later on, people now understood them. So abuse against journalists is not acceptable. الصحفيين أنا بكلم قال صحفيين يعني في فهم غلط في بلد كله ساوث السودان كله، يعني في ناس تانيين ومن ما يفهموا صحفي يعني شنو، وبيشوف صحفي ده زول جاسوس وبيجا لقيته معلومات يلا بيروح طالعوا برا في محل تاني أو بيرسلوا برا لميديا تانيين. في ناس عندهم فهم زي ده في راسهم. لكن جورناليست ده زول اللي مدرب كويس واقرا الشغل ده وبيعمل ريبورت للناس عشان الناس يعرف احوال تاع بلد في شنو جاي حاصل في بلد. ده شغل بتاعه. جورناليست ده ما جاسوس، ده ما زول كعب، ده زول جاي يعمل حاجه كويس. Journalist ده is a nation builder like any other professions. So ده عشان الناس فاهم غلط.
شكرا جزيلا. لو عندك لسه سؤال ولا تعليق بودي فرصة بس لمخالمة يلا بعدك. هننا بيجي توال في النهاية بتاع برنامج في 0911 ولا 22 986 راديو. نعم نعم لوكا سبي مساء النور.
ما كده سؤال بسيط، يعني أنا ما أعرف طبعا كلام ده كمان في نهاية زمن كده خلاص. أنا بس بقول 3 كلمات أنا بسمع. زول كان عامل حاجة بطال زي مواطن كان عامل هذا خاب لزول حكومة كان عامل حاجة بطال لمواطن يجي واجه مواطنين
ليه زول اللي الحكومة ده بدأ يجيبوا في قانون عشان يبونسوا ده السؤال بتاعي.
نعم شكرا. راديو
الو
سلطانة.
اي سلطانة ماما ماريا.
مرحب.
انا سلميتا انا سلمت في الاستديو.
شكرا.
يلا انا كلام تاي جدي طبعا ناس جدي جو ونسوده جورنالست بي ناس تايلاند كلام من روكون لا كنسونو معلومات علي نبي فاهم لأن اللي جيني فواتيني ده نبار فقال في محل ده في حاجة حصل كده هو بدور كان لكيفه لكن في جنوب السودان تنا ده الناس جدي ده ما دايرومو asa mimi alipenu kamsa la kada asa sana ali yali skerin ali geji bukan ulumad na so journalist be kulu katulube terigali anna le hasa mamur sahib yani ta betala hagiga du durita yala kalam de bu wogimite la anu na de raja de ko wogim la anu nas gede umon ya be jibulenna asanna bar ko gal sunu fi kalam ga hasal fi beled gede ومحلات تانيين اللي ما عنده سبقة ما عنده سمودة أنا داير كلي وصلوا سبقة فوق عشان نقول ما هناك كلي وصلوا لنا عشان نبعثهم وأنا جكلم لناس تنا وحكومة تنا ناس جد كلا نكويس كلي ما كاتلو ولا بسلوك السجن ولا بعملوا حاجة بتاعي هاي ده كلام تاعي أنا يوجو ده طبعا ده رأي تاعي أنا ما داير حاجة بتاعي اللي حصل للناس اللي يجيب لنا معلومات على تمام لأنه كان موما إنما باسمه النبي سبيجيني سامبلا ترى هناك في لوكا هناك كاتلو ناس كام في كينيا هناك كاتلو ناس كام إنما بعرفوا السبب على كاتلو ناس ده إنما بعرف لكن هم يا باكر يجيبوا سبب تناس ده موت بسبب دي. شكرا
وسط إضافة ماما ماريا. هاي راديو نعم ناسما من راديو. Good evening, David Magog.
My brother, thanks to Dengit for his patriotism. And he have loved South Sudan. That's why he have explained everything like that. But I have two questions to him. Number one, there is what is so-called right to life in the constitution of the country. If you are telling the journalists to go and gather information so that they can talk about everywhere in South Sudan, where is the security guarantee to their life? Number two, the access to information is now becoming very hard. By example, if an honorable or general is doing something, it becomes very hard to be reported. Should any journalist attempt, even within the town, it will be the risky. So what do you think will be the way forward? Because if you want to make campaign about such, you people can campaign about the implementation of the agreement. You can even campaign about the leadership to give chance to the journalists so that they can just have access to information. And their right to life should be guaranteed. And this is where all such things that you are talking about will be possible. But without it, the journalists cannot give any information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David Magoka from WOW, for asking those good questions right here. And time is not also on our side, so allow me now to invite our last caller for now. Are you ready?
Hello.
Are you willing?
James. طبعا كلامك غير كويس يعني هو كويس لكن عندنا الناس اللي بدنا كان نعرفوا هل الساكن بتاعنا والمساكين دول الحقوق بتاعهم في دولتنا زمان كنا ولايه قبل السودان لكن بقى دوله اثر قبل جنوب السودان الحقوق بتاع الساكن بتاعنا ده بتساعد بقى الدول التانيين دول ولا تكون متفرد لازم تعرف المعامله الساكن اللي جالس ده مون بجاي بتعرف او ماشي كيف هو كلامه قال لك بعد ما الساكن ده من في المكالمات السريه ما في مكالمه سريه ما في مكالمات عاديه وفي مكالمات سريه حتى مكتب السري ذاته هو كان السري ذاته بيجي بيطلع بعدين برا وبيطلع وصاحبي ما بيلقى بيجي يسال للناس وصاحبي ما بيلقى ده كيف ذاته ما كان في كل مره واحد مثلا يعني لا اي معلومه كان سري ولا كان خوف لانه كان سري ذاته بيطلع برا بعدين الناس بيقعدوا في كل هناك لانه كده يلا بيقى فايده شنو ذاته عشان حبيبي نمشي في البتاع في البتاع زي ده ودي كلام ابرد شكرا لك.
شكرا ويلي تاني مرة. You have 3 minutes to summarize or respond to some of all these concerns raised here by our patient audience. Dengit, you are most welcome, and your final remarks as well, because we have come to the end of our discussion.
Thank you very much. There was a question: if a government official commit a mistake, why is he not taken to the court of law? Well, I said earlier that no one is above the law. If a government official commit a mistake or something that is against the law and he is not or she is not taken to the court of law, then this is a violation of law, simply like that. Mama Maria, I think I have to commend her. She said something very good. Number one, she said that in the places where there is no network, the government should take the network. Yeah. Gali mahalat al-fogu ma fogu shabaka kali hukuma wedi shabaka inak de kalam kois. They one. Nimri itnin, protection of journalists. Himaya al-sahafin. That's what she said. Kal nas al-gijibu lana akhbar da ma ya'amulu man hajat ka ma yawdaru hayatom. So she's talking about protection. She's not actually asking questions. She contributed to the topic by coming up with suggestions. So I commend her for that. ده كلام كويس يا ماما يوصلوا الشبكة ويعملوا حماية للصحفيين عشان هم بيستمروا بيجيبوا أخبار كويس لنا. David Magog, security guarantees for journalists. Yeah, that is a big question. Journalists are victims in some areas because their mission is not well understood. They are looked at negatively, and that's why they are victims. However, they would continue to do their work. As I said earlier, we need civic education in South Sudan about what is journalism and the mission of journalists. What is the way forward as journalists are restricted in the country? The way forward is that we have to abide by law. The law gives journalists rights to cover all the events in the country. Are the rights of journalists in South Sudan similar to the right of journalists in other countries? Yes, they are the same rights, because at the beginning of this show, I quoted our constitutions and I quoted other international conventions which give similar rights to journalists. But maybe the environment in our country is different. That's why there are a lot of restrictions to journalists and their works in the country. Otherwise, the rights are all the same. Yeah. This is what I can say. To conclude, I want to say that media in South Sudan is backed up by law, and therefore journalists should be allowed to do their work without restriction and without interference by all levels of the government or by all authorities. We commend authorities because they allow journalists to work and carry out their duties in many areas in the country, even here in Juba. But we don't accept mistreatment of journalists, abuse of journalists, and even silencing them for good.
All right.
We don't accept that one. Let media be free in South Sudan as it is prescribed in the law. Let the journalists continue to bring to the public the classified information.
All right.
As it is in the democratic society per the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dengdit Yok, for coming, and via our Facebook page. Margaret, you say a powerful discussion. Thank you for shedding light on it. Citizens in South Sudan can safely demand more transparent by organizing through community-based civil society, using local radios and social media to raise awareness, and engaging in peaceful dialogue with the local leaders. It's also crucial to document injustices, support independent media, and build alliances with the legal aid and human rights organizations for protection and amplification. More importantly, collective voices, when informed and united, are harder to silence. Thank you all for your comment, and with that we have come to the end of our discussion. I've been your host, Madrama James.